How's it going, everyone? Welcome to Fantasy Filmball, the show where we turn movies into sports and sports into something that we don't talk about. My name is Matt, with me is Dylan, and today we're going to be going over the results of the Critics' Choice Awards. I wish we got to talk about this earlier, or like react live or whatever. This is not a live reaction. We're just going over and seeing like what has changed. What has changed, Dylan? A lot's changed.
I know, a lot of stuff has changed, but I mean, even though we didn't do live reactions, everyone out there, join our Discord. The link's in the description. We were giving live thoughts throughout the show about what we were thinking and whatnot, because the show started off pretty wild, I would say, and then got to the more consensus stuff when we got to the top and like the big awards. But I think we should start with the big awards because that kind of sets the mood for everything. And as we both predicted,
Everything Ever All at Once, Best Picture.
Boom, Best Picture, and I didn't predict it for director. I was still in the Spielberg trends. Like, they saw the Globes, they're Oscar predictors. They're just going to go with Spielberg. Nope. They went with the critic sweeper with the Daniels.
Yeah. Honestly, neither of us did too well on Gold Derby on this.
That's a... Sort of. Our accuracy wasn't the greatest, but our rankings were.
Yeah, that's true. Honestly, I think that there's just a couple of small things where I'm like, looking back, I should have done something differently. Production design. Should have put Babylon. But I think both of us were looking for the upset there because we knew Babylon had to lose something. We just didn't know it was going to lose what it lost.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's there's some things where looking back, I'm like, oh, damn, I should have done that differently. But yes, we both got Picture for Everything Ever All at Once. This makes sense. Everything Ever All at Once basically swept the Critics' Choice Awards. Does this change anything? What do we think about that? Does this make Everything Everywhere more likely for Best Picture? Or, how are we feeling about that?
I don't think Everything Everywhere winning for Picture changes anything, but I do think, kind of jumping ahead a little bit, Banshees going home empty-handed does change stuff.
And Fableman's going home empty-handed, except for Young
Technically they got LaBelle, but that's not like a quote-quote Oscar award. So,
yeah.
Two of the three biggest contenders went home with nothing.
What people have been saying is that, I think it was the Oscar expert that first pointed this out, is that there hasn't been a single movie in the entire history of the Critics' Choice that hasn't won an above-the-line award that has then gone on to win Best Picture.
I thought it was just an award in general.
It's above the line.
Okay.
I think
so that means it's only...
I think they started off by saying... the Oscar expert started off by saying it was above the line, but then I think some people on Reddit did like a deeper analysis, and it's truly that nothing has won Best Picture without winning an acting award, director, picture, or screenplay.
Wow. So for all the naysayers for Everything Everywhere out there, I mean, this kind of is the submitting door for, hey, it's winning, because your other options for an above-the-line win would be Tar, The Whale, Black Panther, and Women Talking.
I mean, technically, this is a stat that can be broken because it's not a causation, it's just a correlation, right? It's not like the same voters are going out or people are going, oh, I can't vote for this because it didn't get the Critics' Choice. It's just a correlation. It's a very strong correlation.
A 33-year correlation.
Exactly. It's a 33-year correlation, and that can be broken. It can be broken, but there's no reason to predict right away that this is something that's going to be broken.
Yeah.
So
Everything Everywhere,
I'm
big
still
prizes.
feeling confident. Big.
I had most recently jumped ship from Avatar. Finally, I said, hey, if it loses the Globe, I'm off of it. It lost the Globe, so I was like, okay, Fableman's didn't win anything big here, so I think now I'm officially with Everything Everywhere. But that's for another day. Staying here with CCA, though, I just mentioned how Everything Everywhere is now my number one for picture. It did not win actress, and I may be moving it off of my best actress prediction because Cate Blanchett was able to overtake Yo at a place where Yo definitely probably should have won. I know we both predicted Blanchett, but this is still a place where if Yo was going to switch the tides, she was probably going to win here.
I'm of two minds here, actually, though, because I've always felt like Cate Blanchett was going to take the Critics' Choice because Cate Blanchett is more of a Critics' Choice. I know that the Critics' Choice Awards are not a critic award, but that just feels right for a show called The Critics' Choice. So ultimately, I'm of two minds, and one of them is it makes sense for Cate Blanchett to win here. Michelle Yeoh didn't need it. It was never part of her winning path, right? Because her winning path has always been SAG, Golden Globe, and then Oscar. And Blanchett's winning path has always been Golden Globe, Critics' Choice, BAFTA, Oscar. Michelle Yeoh didn't need it. However, because they loved Everything Ever All at Once so goddamn much, that kind of signifies to me that maybe she should have won here.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that's what the mind I was, where like it was just sweeping everything. So this feels like it should have came along with it.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing that feels weird to me, but ultimately, it makes more sense for Blanchett to win here. It puts Blanchett ahead. I now have her at number 1, but I don't think it's the end. I think that Michelle Yeoh still has a path because this was originally not in her path to win.
Definitely. I definitely see that angle. And as we mentioned, Everything Everywhere is sweeping. So I guess just touching on this real quick before we hop over to Best Actor. Best Supporting Actor, Kwan takes this. Easy money. He's going to continue winning every award. So now Best Actor, though.
That's the easiest
That's
one.
where we had a big, I think, tie here. Because the last week, I think this is the last time we actually recorded an episode, The Whale has had a resurgence. It made PGA. Brendan Fraser wins here for Best Actor. And it's probably going to have a good showcase at BAFTA tomorrow. That is, it probably could show for actor. Probably going to get supporting actress, screenplay. Who knows what else it could get. So, Brendan Fraser, Colin Farrell, Austin Butler. I think this is now officially a 3-horse race again after we had said for a while. It's probably just 2 because The Whale's not making the picture.
Yeah. No, it's looking like Brendan Fraser is the winner. And I know you've been riding on the Austin Butler train all along, but did you see the energy in that room when Brendan Fraser got up to give his speech? Did you see how fast everyone was up on their feet? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's another thing I want to point out for Everything Ever All at Once. The entire room was in a standing ovation the second Everything Ever All at Once was announced. Like, people leapt up to their feet. So, and the same happened for Brendan Fraser. There was such enthusiasm in the room for this man.
Yeah, my whole thing with Fraser this whole season is like, the Whale's not going to get anything else besides makeup. So, like, there's no, like, building case around this performance. But now as we're seeing, Hong Chau's probably our 4 or 5 supporting actors. Screenplay could arguably be number 2. And then it's probably going to get a picture nomination at either 8, 9, or 10. So, and now it has the package. And for me, ultimately, it's coming down to SAG. Butler, Fraser, who they go at SAG is going to be my Oscar pick. I'm still going to have Butler at 1 because I'm someone who doesn't want to be reactionary until, like, my thing I have set in stone changes. But, like I'm saying, I'm pretty sure it's going to end up switching.
Awesome, yeah. Oh, I just remembered one other thing. Do you think that Cate Blanchett's speech might hurt her at all?
To be honest, I did not watch the Critics' Choice live. I only looked at stuff as they popped up on my phone, but I did see Fraser's speech on Twitter. So that's where I did see the people jump up to cheer.
Because Fraser's speech is going to help him. Blanchett's speech, I think, has a chance of hurting her because essentially what her speech was she got up, she accepted the award, and then said, awards are really stupid. Why can't everyone be awarded? Which, like, good thought, but I think she was a little bit too drunk to word it properly. But she was like, we should just get rid of all of this televised horse race. We should stop giving out all of these awards because it's pointless and everyone's good. And to me, I think it rubbed me a little bit the wrong way because she's campaigning so goddamn hard for this award. And it just feels a bit wrong to get up there and say, like, this is meaningless when you've been fighting for it. I don't know. Rubbed me the wrong way.
It's not apples to apples, obviously, but I mean, last year, Jane Campion had a flunder of a speech right before some big awards, and it didn't affect her in any way. Obviously, it's 2 different things. She wasn't calling out the people awarding her, but we'll see. I still think Blanchett's going to be nominated for everything. And I guess it's going to come down to, like, if BAFTA, she loses BAFTA, then maybe that was a big effect or something along the lines.
Yeah. Or if she, like, flubs another speech later on, because no one's going to remember that speech when they go to voting, but it definitely felt a little bit tone deaf to be campaigning that hard and then to say, this doesn't mean a goddamn thing. It reminds me of how Joaquin Phoenix, time after time, lost the Oscar even when he might have been the front runner at one point, and it's because he was publicly saying the Oscar race is stupid. The Oscar race is stupid. And when it came down to Joker, he was just like, his speeches changed, and he started talking about how grateful he was and how he still doesn't love the whole horse race angle of it, but he appreciates that he is getting recognition. And I think that's what finally let him win for Joker, is that he changed his attitude around it. But yeah, I don't think it's going to hurt her too much, but it definitely made me feel a bit off.
Yeah, I feel that. I mean, everyone out there, if you hear that, Beau is Afraid, best Oscars next year. Keep that in mind. But supporting actress, we made a last-minute switch. We switched from Condon over to Bassett, and it panned out.
It did. I think that Bassett is just happening. Keep in mind, this voting closed before the Golden Globes. So they voted Bassett before the They weren't just following suit with what the Golden Globes did. This is organic. This is their own vote. And it makes sense. I think she is basically going to sweep. She's going to lose the BAFTA, but she's going to win every single other award.
It's still so weird that Bassett won essentially 0 critics groups and then still win CCA.
She won 3 critics groups.
3 out of 50 something plus?
I think that so far there's been 45 around there. But the 3 out of that, there's been no sweepers in this category. Mm-hmm. Condon has won 13. Stephanie Sue has won 8. Jamie Lee Curtis has won 4. It's everyone just has a handful. So Angela Bassett has won a few critics groups.
Well, Bassett, I think I'm finally there with you. Like you're saying, gonna probably win SAG. BAFTA, probably not, but maybe. In Oscars, it's going to be our first MCU nominated performance, and it's going to be our first MCU winning performance. That brings us to screenplay.
It's a narrative win. Perfect. Screenplay, let's go.
And we mentioned this before, Everything Everywhere pretty much swept a lot of stuff, and that included screenplay here over Banshees, because Banshees went home empty-handed. That, I think, is the biggest takeaway from CCA, is the fact that Banshees didn't win anything. It didn't win screenplay, supporting actress, actor, comedy film even, just nothing.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the biggest upsets that we had, because I definitely was fully expecting Banshees to win here. And no matter how much the Critics' Choice loved Everything Everywhere, I did not put it in screenplay. But I'm not making that mistake for the Oscars. I've got it down for screenplay at the Oscars.
Yeah, I think I'm switching as well. I still think Banshees can be redeemed by obviously winning BAFTA, and then Writers Guild is not eligible. So I guess it's really going to come down to the nomination hall. If Banshees gets in for editing, it gets in for cinematography, it gets in for score, I'll feel a little bit better. But if Banshees, misses all those and Everything Everywhere can manage its way into a sound category or something along those lines to show more support, then I'll be like, okay, there's more love overall for Everything Everywhere for the win, not just the nomination.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And this is, I think, really big for Everything Everywhere. I think this feels like a turning point, because they lost a Golden Globe, but this shows that they have the love in the writing department. And I think that they can push through. I really do think that they can push through. And in the adapted side, we have Women Talking, obviously. And I maintain, I'm going to say this right now, even if Women Talking is not nominated for Best Picture, even if it's not nominated for Best Picture, and The Whale is, and Glass Onion is, and they're both, and Top Gun is, and they're all in adapted screenplay, Women Talking still wins adapted screenplay.
I 99% agree with you, but if The Whale wins actor, wins makeup, and is a top 6 contender, then I would switch. But I would need to see a lot more passion for The Whale. I mean, the passion's there, but The Whale's a very divisive movie. I think the people who are just so passionate about it are rising it up the ranks, while the people who aren't so high can bring it down. But Women Talking, the only thing I can see where this doesn't win screenplay is, like you said, if it's not nominated, or if this is the film's only nomination. It somehow misses score, it somehow misses I guess that's really it. Score, screenplay, picture at this moment. But yeah, I still have Women Talking winning. I like you've mentioned many times. I don't know how you watch this movie and like, yeah, that's not the winner.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. The only explanation is people don't watch it. That's the only explanation.
Which, I mean, some people may have trouble watching it because it's supposed to go in wide release on Friday, and I have 10 theaters in my area, and it's showing at 1.
Yeah. It's... I don't know. I don't know what Orion is
really
doing
good.
with it. It's
really
it is
good.
one of the best movies of the year. It is one of the best movies of the year, and I don't understand what they're doing.
Well, another thing I don't really understand what they're doing, but I guess I do understand what they're doing, is over in Best Film Ensemble, because it didn't go to Everything Everywhere. It didn't go to Women Talking. It didn't even go to The Woman King. But it went to, I guess you could say they're the critic sweeper for Ensemble Awards, but still just kind of feels like a weird pick considering this lineup and the overall scope of how the show is going. And it went to Glass Onion.
Yep, Glass Onion won here. That doesn't impact anything at all. It doesn't change a single thing.
Yeah, I agree. It's just CCA wants to, I guess, maybe they got tired of voting Everything Everywhere in some categories or whatnot. And Glass Onion's Ensemble is really good. It's just, I guess you look at the overall nomination haul, that's not the one that would really make sense for them to give it to. But they made another more confusing winner that we'll get to in a little bit.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Glass Onion is the critic sweeper in Ensemble. It makes so much more sense for it to be Women Talking because, like, Glass Onion is a fun ensemble. There's a lot of really big actors doing very silly, very fun things. But Women Talking is, like, the ensemble movie of the century. Like, that, it's 12 Angry Men for a new era, where it's just, like, every single actor is giving it. And that would make more sense for a critic sweeper. Like, I can see how SAG is probably going to go for Everything Everywhere, but for a critic sweep, Women Talking is right there.
Yeah, I would agree. It just goes more to Orion's campaigning for this movie, how I think this shows, as we talked about in previous shows, it's studios, not directors, it's not actors, it's studios, and I think this is a sign for, hey, in the future, maybe don't put much faith in UA, MGM, Orion. They've shown year after year they don't know what they were doing. Like last year, not that I think Cyrano was a top 10 like movie, but it probably should have got some technical nominations, and they just didn't want to release the movie. And Licorice Pizza also had struggles getting out there and being seen and stuff.
Licorice Pizza should have been a 6 or 7 nomination movie, and it ended up with 3.
Yeah, so that's something that we'll dive in future episodes. Whatever UA has coming out this year, probably, maybe be a little lower on it than it should be. But Glass Onion, it won another award. That wasn't the only one it took, because it also took home Best Comedy Film over Banshees and over Everything Everywhere All at Once, which I guess makes sense in retrospect, because after this award came out, I heard that, CCA usually always goes for their funniest movie, like the biggest ha-ha movie, not the best movie or the most awarded movie in the category, which I guess if you look on paper, I would say Glass Onion or Bros maybe was the biggest ha-ha movie here, but still, Everything Everywhere not winning this, or even Banshees just not getting a win, I still think it's like, hey, that's maybe something to notice.
Yeah, I mean, we can see it even from just what happened in the nominations, where Babylon isn't there, even though it technically fits the description. It's not going to fit into that category as a big ha-ha movie, but it is a comedy. So clearly what they're doing is the best comedy award goes to a film that is the thing that they think is the funniest. And so they give it to Glass Onion. Makes sense. Doesn't change anything. Maybe gives it a little bit more visibility for Oscar nominations voting, but I don't think it changes anything at all.
I agree. And we've mentioned before that CCA, normally you got to win one thing here to look good for the Oscars to win Best Picture. In The Fabelmans, I guess you can make the case. Here's your win for Best Young Actor or Actress, because Gabriel Bell gets some recognition, which I think is totally deserved. And I mean, there's a lot of conversation around Best Actor. Who's your 5 slot? Cruise hasn't gotten anywhere. Mescal doesn't really make sense. Sandler's not going to happen. I support LaBelle in for the 5th slot. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not, but I think it would be a cool one.
I would love to see that happen. A lot of people are saying Mescal. I don't think Mescal is going to happen. It just doesn't make sense to me at all. Gabriel LaBelle would be a great coattail nomination. He's so good in this movie. And when we're looking at this young actor-actress category, there's not much to talk about here. It's the obvious win. He's the only one in this category that could have won. So, yeah, it makes sense to me.
Definitely, fully agree. And I'm of the belief that the fifth slot for actor is going to be a coattail person. It's just, is it going to be Cruise? Is it going to be LaBelle? Or if you want to go super wild, will it be Kramer from All Quiet on the Western Front? I would say those are your three.
It could be Calva. It could be Calva, too.
I think the other three would be stronger than Calva, but who knows? They could love Babylon, and Babylon's biggest place to shine is going to be the Oscars.
Did you hear there are rumors that some people are putting Brendan Gleeson in lead?
I did hear that, but also I've heard in the past, like the whole Lakeith Stanfield situation, they just combine your votes and put you in which one you had the most votes in.
They don't.
That's not what it is?
Votes. They don't combine your votes. No. You can vote split and get left out of both. And apparently that might be what happened for... they can, yeah.
So, theoretically, you could have Farrell and Gleeson nominated this year.
Theoretically, you could have both of them nominated.
I thought you could only have one per movie. Okay, never mind.
No, you can have as many as you want in the lead. It's just how many are going to get nominated in the lead.
Yeah, I mean, I think that could be kind of cool if you move Gleeson in the lead. That's our fifth slot, and then supporting actor. Then maybe you can pull something like a Brian Tyree Henry or a Hirsch, or even more inspired Mark Rylance, which won't happen. But you know what else won't happen? Anything else besides Pinocchio winning animated feature, because it wins again here at CCA.
Yeah. Oh, that was an easy one. Puss in Boots is peaking right now, but it's still not getting any of the wins. I'm so happy that Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio is doing as well as it is in awards season. I think it's just such an incredible film, and he deserves it.
Yeah, I mean, I opened up TikTok last night, and my first 8 videos, I kid you not, are Puss in Boots videos.
The algorithm knows you. The algorithm knows that you're looking for that.
There is a demographic out there that would put Puss in Boots at number 1. I am that algorithm. I am that category. But Oscar voters, I don't think they're going to be the people to give Puss in Boots the win. I think Pinocchio has its in. I watched that Netflix Q&A that they had of the Three Amigos with Karan,
I haven't seen
Guillermo, and AGI, and it's very good. And they even call out the Disney one, which I think is a pretty funny little bit. It's a good watch if anyone's out there. It's like an hour long. AGI talks about how Bardo is essentially a therapy session for him, how the film is his life, and it's just a surreal version of what his last 3 years have been like. And then Guillermo goes into about how Pinocchio kind of is like that for him, just not about his life, but just him getting out ideas that he has in his head, and how animation is just movie. It's not like an actual genre. Or not a genre. It's not a different type. It is just a genre of movie, like how horror or how comedy is still film. I think it's a really good interview, and they both pick on Karan because like, you got to make a new movie. We all got to release a movie in the same year. We got to see who wins.
That'd be amazing having those three all up against each other, because I don't think that they've ever all had a movie in the same year before.
I don't think so either. And what would make it really interesting to me if they all release their movie in Spanish.
In 2006, AGI had Babel. Then there was Pan's Labyrinth, and there was Children of Men.
Okay, there we go. But now we need them all to release their movies the same year, the same distributor, in the same language, all so they can all compete for that one slot from Mexico.
Absolutely. So what's the next category, Dylan?
We have another one which seems pretty obvious on paper, but some people were predicting different things, and that was Best Foreign Film, because RRR takes this because why wanted it? It's in Best Picture. But some people out there may have said, All Quiet's Rising, Critics' Choice, they could redeem Decision to Leave. Argentina, can they surprise again? They're just going to copy the Globes, but I mean, RRR seems pretty obvious, and it won here.
Here's my argument. All Quiet is not rising. It's not. It's getting more recognition because it's on BAFTA long lists. BAFTA long lists don't mean anything. It could get 0 BAFTA nominations still.
I have it getting, I think, 1 BAFTA nomination, and that's I forgot which one. I did my whole predictions yesterday, and I only remember it showing up like 1 or 2 spots. I think All Quiet's just House of Gucci. It's on everything, but it doesn't equate to anything.
Yeah, it's one that it doesn't need to get all of these nominations. It really doesn't, and I think people are really way too confident in it because it showed up somewhere. It's the very classic, very reactionary award season mindset of this just happened, so this is the new thing that's happening. And RRR was always winning international feature here because it's in Best Picture. It's one of the top 10 movies the top 11 movies that they have of the year. So obviously that was going to win here.
Yeah, the only case I could see for you not picking RR here is if you're trying to predict like how CCA predicts the Oscars, and like, okay, I have to pick someone who's actually going to be nominated for the Oscar. Then like, okay, are they going All Quiet or are they going Decision to Leave? But still, RR was in pictures. I guess the same case you can make for some other categories. Like, yeah, obviously there's maybe some better choices, but that movie was in pictures, so they're going to go with that. And Absolutely. By better, I mean Oscar better, not better in terms of film quality.
No. I mean, I totally get what you're saying. Like, if they were going to try to predict the Oscars, then... But at the same time, maybe they are trying to predict the Oscars by saying, like, hey, nominate RRR. Which, at this point, it seems like it's not happening, unfortunately, because I would absolutely love to see it in there. But I think that was the critics' choice, giving it their last push.
You know... Another thing that's not happening, but is kind of cool, that brings us to cinematography, because this category is becoming a mess after the ASC nominations, but we do know what is happening in that, and that is Top Gun Maverick, because it wins here as well. It's just, what are our other 4 nominations going to be at the Oscars? CCA had nominated Avatar, Babylon, Fabelmans, Empire of Light, and Tar. ASC had nominated Empire Light, Batman, Elvis, and Bardo. And you can go pretty far back into ASC's history, and they're pretty consistent with either 4 or 5 out of 5, and you have to go a ways back until you can find a 3.
They're getting 2 or 3 this year. Tops.
I think it's 3 or 4, and I think the 2 is Empire of Light, and I think the 3 is either Bardo or Batman.
Elvis.
Maybe. I know I personally have Elvis in right now. I feel like I'm over nominating Elvis at this point, because Elvis isn't winning a lot of picture stuff, and I'm like, can Elvis really get 7, 8, 9 nominations? That just feels weird for a movie that's not top 3, top 4.
Maybe it is.
Maybe it is.
It could be number 4.
But that brings us to a category where I predicted Elvis to win, and it didn't win, and that is costumes, because that went to Black Panther Wakanda Forever.
Oh, I also had Elvis in costumes here. Does this change your Oscar prediction?
No, it doesn't, because I think people are being very reactionary to Wakanda Forever at the moment after its PGA nomination. Like, oh, it could get picture. It's going to get all these nominations. And to me, Wakanda Forever is supporting actress, costumes, and maybe hair and makeup. It's getting 3. And I think costumes, I think it's win competitive here. I just think at the Oscars, they're not going to want to do the same thing. I think if you compare the costumes here to the first one, it's essentially the same stuff besides the opening funeral scene, but then the new, I guess, superhero costumes are very lackluster and had received lots of criticisms online and stuff. So, I don't know. I just feel like the Oscars Elvis is more their style. But who knows? I could be completely off here.
I did change my prediction to Black Panther, because for me, this is actually my favorite costume design of the year. I disagree. I think that they did change a lot of stuff that they have been doing with the first film. So it's not just the superhero costumes. It's everything. They, from M'Baku's, fur coat, it's insane, and it's different from the first one. To Shuri's streetwear that she uses in America to blend in. Every single costume is so good. I think one of the only places where Wakanda Forever steps it up from the first film is the costumes.
Fair enough. So I think we should hop over from costumes to best hair and makeup, because this is a category where we have some of the same nominees, and Elvis did win here, which
you got it right.
At this point when it won here, I was like, oh, that means they're going to go for butler and actor because of the combo, but they didn't. The Whale didn't win here, and neither did Black Panther, which some people were predicting to win. So I think this really bodes well for Elvis going forward. But then again, that goes to my whole thing with Elvis winning costumes. Is Elvis really going to win 2, 3 awards? That seems kind of weird for that type of movie if it's not top 3. Which, I mean, like you said, it could be, but I don't know. I still think best hair and makeup's going to correlate to the Oscars. It's going to be Whale and Fraser, or Butler and Elvis. It's just which direction do they go?
Yeah, or Elvis and Farrell, because
that too.
if Fraser wins actor, he kind of has to win makeup. If Butler wins actor, he kind of has to win makeup. But if neither of those two win actor, then makeup is up for grabs, and it's probably going to be Elvis.
They should just be inspired, and if Farrell wins the Oscar, they should just give it to Batman in makeup. Be like, hey, here's your makeup in another movie. That way we can
Amsterdam
we'll keep
makeup. Amsterdam.
Oh, yeah. Amsterdam makeup for the win.
But yeah, I'll admit, I was wrong with... I totally should have picked Elvis here.
I mean, who did you end up picking? Did you pick The Whale?
I picked The Whale. Yeah, I picked The Whale.
I mean, technically, you had the right thinking. It's like, hey, correlation with actor. Just, I don't think you had Fraser. You had Farrell.
I had Farrell, yeah, not Fraser.
Okay. Still, it worked out sort of with, like, you didn't have Butler winning actor, so sort of. That brings us to a category which I think is, to me, was one of the biggest surprises of the night. I know, I think to you and some other people, y'all were predicting this. I was like, there's no way they're not going to go Maverick in editing. And they didn't. They went with Everything Ever All at Once, continuing its sweep. This was one of the first awards I think it won on the night.
Yeah. This is what I've been saying all along, is Everything Everywhere, it just makes sense as an editing winner. Now, that said, the Critics' Choice is not the best predictor for editing. I think over the past 10 years, they've gotten like 3 or 4 right. But Everything Everywhere is just so obvious in this category. It's so obvious in this category. But yeah, Critics' Choice have predicted in the past. I think the last time they got it right was they got Sound of Metal.
Okay.
But before that, they've gone with like Parasite and God, what else have they done? I know that they got Gravity right. That's one of the ones that they've done. But they've definitely missed a few years. They didn't go Bohemian Rhapsody. They didn't go Ford v Ferrari. And so this year they totally could go Top Gun after this. But to me, Everything Ever makes so much sense as an editing winner. It just makes so much sense.
And to be fair, when Sound of Metal won here, that wasn't the front runner either. That was like number 3, number 4 at that point, behind Trial and some other movies.
It tied with Trial here.
Okay. So at that point, Sound of Metal was like, oh, that's probably like our 5th. Like if you look at the editing category here, you have Maverick, you have Everything Everywhere, Elvis, Avatar, Babylon, Tar. That's like, okay, that's like a Tar Avatar way. It's like, yeah, it could make the Oscars, but it's not winning competitive. And then it tied here, like, okay, now it is, and then it went on to win some other big editing awards. Like, okay, it's for real.
Yeah, for me, the question is, can Everything Everywhere break the sound correlation? I don't know.
Speaking of sound, I don't think CCA knows the difference between score and sound, because in Best Score, they gave it to what probably could be a good sound winner of Tar, but they didn't give it to any of the movies that actually has a score. A Babylon, Women Talking, Batman, Pinocchio, and sure, Fablemans. I would say, yeah, give it to Tar over Fablemans just because they're the same type of thing. They're using other music in their movie, just at least Tar is doing it in like a more interesting way. Like I respect the Tar pick just for a chaos angle, but I think it was Brother Bro and Oscar Expert. They went in and they're like, hey, there's 25 minutes of the Tar score online, and only one of those songs is even in the movie.
Yeah. No, with this win, they picked the wrong Gundotier score. They did.
I would agree.
I saw a funny post from Sarah Polly on Instagram, because Sarah Polly and Hildur are like best friends. At every single event, it's just Hildur and Sarah Polly side by side constantly. And so she posted a photo of both her and Hildur holding Critics' Choice Awards, and she was saying like she basically said that we both thought that it was for women talking for about 20 minutes and then realized, oh, it was for Tar. And so, like...
Yeah.
It's just a confusing
I think it's
choice.
even bad when your winner thinks like, oh yeah, obviously it's for the other category where I actually made a score for that was in the movie.
Yeah. But good for Hildur. I mean, Hildur is one of the best composers out there right now. I just wish that it was for women talking and not for Tar.
Yeah. I think this just bodes like, hey, CCA, you have every Oscar category besides Best Sound. Maybe make a sound category, and then you can give it to Tar.
Yeah. Well, and Tar should have been shortlisted for sound. Totally should have been shortlisted for sound. Mm-hmm.
So I think going from a very chaotic category, we should go to just a very obvious category, and that is Best Visual Effects, where Avatar: The Way of Water gets its only win of the night, and could be its only Oscar win on Oscar morning. Or Oscar night, I should say.
I think that's where we're headed. I mean, I know we both were thinking maybe production design, maybe cinematography, but it's not happening in either of those.
I agree. Production design is a category where we both predicted The Way of Water, but as mentioned before, it didn't win here. That went to the old Hollywood movie, as we both said at the beginning of the year. Like, obviously Babylon's winning this category. It's an old Hollywood. It's big sets. It's showy. It's flashy. And we were like, oh, well, the movie's a little mixed. It's going to have to lose some places, and it can't lose score. So we'll just take it off number one for everything besides score. It loses score, but still wins production design.
I think that's our big fumble of the evening, because it feels so obvious looking at it that Babylon is just the production design movie. It's Mank.
Yeah.
It's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This is the movie that everyone's going to give production design. So, yeah, that was a fumble by us, but we will not make that fumble when it comes to the Oscars.
At the Oscars, Mank won production design, and did it win cinematography as well?
It won cinematography as well, yes.
And it didn't win score, correct?
No.
Because that went to Soul. All right, so Mank won too. So I guess if Babylon's Mank, maybe it could find its way to something else. Maybe that's score. Maybe that's
it
costumes.
Will be score.
I don't know.
It's winning score. It's winning. Yeah. I don't see it winning cost. I would be upset if it won costumes. Honestly, I would. But yeah, we've also got best song. That's one we haven't chatted about yet.
That's our final one.
Natu. Is Natu winning?
I think if it's nominated, it is winning. It's the one category. I said this on our Discord right before the Globe started. Like, hey, I'm starting to think that Natu is going to be our front runner, just because this is the one category consistently people can vote for RR. Like, yeah, it could pop up in international at some places. It could pop up maybe for director in some places. But this is the one category consistently you can be like, okay, RR, my passion vote, it goes here. Because, like, Lift Me Up, Hold My Hand, yeah, they're by Rihanna. They're by Lady Gaga. But this category has shown in the past few years, they don't always give it to the pop star. Like, yeah, Billie Eilish won last year. But Billie Eilish also had, I think you could say, arguably the best song in the category, and in a James Bond movie, which has been very consistent of, hey, that's going to win recently. And then our other possible nominees are Diane Warren. She doesn't win. And then that last slot, you can say maybe it's Chow Papa, maybe it's Crawdads, maybe it's something random. Still, that fifth slot, it's not going to be a winner. So to me, it's RR if it's nominated, and then if it's not nominated, who knows what's winning at that point? Maybe it's the year of Diane Warren at that case.
I think that Diane Warren is actually on the fence to get this nomination. I think as the years go by, she's going to be less and less likely to get nominated, just because her friends are leaving the Academy, right? And people are coming in. There's new branch members that are not Diane Warren best friends. So honestly, I think eventually what we're going to see is Diane Warren's going to keep making songs, but they might get nominated less and less because, yeah, she ultimately won't have as many devoted best friends voting for her.
Yeah. I mean, that was my case at the beginning of the year when we had this song, like, debates every so often. And I was like, oh, Diane Warren's not getting nominated. She just got her honorary award. They're done nominating her. But, I don't know. I guess I just have to see it to believe it at this point. Because whether it was you or other people say, like, well, she's still going to get in. It got shortlisted, blah, blah, blah. And, like, yeah, I guess. Honestly, I think what's going to come down to is if she doesn't get shortlisted, obviously she's not getting in. And then that will be the sign, like, hey, they're done with her. It's when she stops getting shortlisted. Because I think if she's shortlisted, especially in a year where, to be honest, I think song's very weak, she's going to just find her way in. Like, if this was a year where there's like a La La Land that had like 2 song nominations, and then a big Disney movie that could have 1 or 2, and then another like blockbuster, like a James Bond movie, there's 4 of your 5, and then you throw in another song, whether it's a big pop star that can just tag on that 5th slot, or something that's just got a very devoted fan base, like a New Body Roomba or something, like in a future year. But this year, I think the category is just too weak, and she's going to be able to fit her way in. And I would say she's not even number 5. I would say she's ahead of Chow Papa, Crawdads, White Noise, whatever you want to put in that 5th slot.
By the way, did we talk about director?
We lumped it in with picture, just saying, hey, Daniel's won Big Both. But circling back to that, yeah, Daniel's won director, not
Daniel's
Spielberg.
won director. Yeah, because that's the one thing I want to mention, which is Spielberg feels like he should have won here.
Yeah, I predicted Spielberg because for that same reason. It's like, hey, Globes picked him. They're going to pick him too because Fabelmans has to win something, right? And no, Fabelmans doesn't have to win something. Neither did Banshees. I know I keep bringing that up, but I still think that's a very big sign that Banshees won nothing here. Like, at minimum, I feel like it should have got comedy at minimum. Just be like, hey, we didn't vote for you in screenplay or supporting actress or actor, but guess what? Here's comedy for a consolation prize, and they still didn't even give them that. So that's my big takeaways. Banshees won nothing, and Everything Everywhere won almost everything it probably should have, besides maybe actress.
It's wild. Anyways, this has been our Critics' Choice Award reactions. We're going to be doing our final Oscar predictions over the next few days. We're going to record them all at once and release them bit by bit so that you're not overwhelmed with like a 2-hour video. But just be sure to catch us for that. BAFTA nominations come out tomorrow. We're going to get our final changes in the race before going into Oscar nominations morning. And I could not be more excited. Before we go, though, what's your biggest worry after the Critics' Choice Award? What's your biggest thing that you're like, oh God, I don't think that this is going to happen?
Well, I'll give you two. Because I'll give you the reverse of that. Like, oh my gosh, this is going to happen. Is Whale in Picture. Is Whale in Picture, because I've been dreading that. I also am kind of dreading that Empire of Light is going to get at least one nomination and could be more. And then my biggest worry that this isn't going to happen is that Avatar could walk away with maybe 4 nominations or something very low there. It could be one of the least nominated Best Picture nominees. And then my other big worry is that we could have some major just craziness in our acting categories where someone that's pretty obvious is going to miss, whether that's going to be a Naihi or that's going to be a supporting actor from like Dano or something. I just feel like we're going to have one huge just acting like what the fuck moment this year, and I just don't know what it's going to be.
Yeah, I think my big scare right now is I'm worried about Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio in score. I feel like score is a very snubbable category because it's not going to go 5 for 5. They're not going to put in, but it's very possible, especially because the past 2 years, Desplat has been snubbed. So ultimately, they could pick something over Pinocchio, and that would break my heart.
I think the positive for Pinocchio is the fact that Batman's not eligible.
Yeah.
So, there's obviously, the one person who I'd be like, oh yeah, that's the one that's definitely going to take the spot is gone. Because at least for the moment, I know we were wrapping up, but just for the moment, I think Babylon, Women Talking, Pinocchio, those are your top, they seem 3. And then I would say either Banshees or Fabelmans is 4. And then the other one is possibly 5 with The Woman King. And those are your 6. And it's just, hey, which 5 of those 6 are we going with? I would be very surprised, or I guess that's 7 I gave you, but I'd be very surprised if both Fabelmans and Banshees gets in. I feel like one will, not the other. And Woman King feels destined to be the solo. I know this may be a crazy take for some people out there. I think this is the Woman King's only nomination. I think Davis misses and Mrs. Picture and Mrs. Costumes. And it's Terrence Blanchard repeats his Defy Bloods trend that he did a few years ago. Score and score only.
Awesome. Okay, well, we're going to wrap up for today, and we're going to hopefully have this out for today, and then we'll see you again tomorrow for some Oscar nominations. But until, for Oscar nominations, for Oscar nomination predictions. But until next time, my name's Matt.
And my name's Dyl, and this is Fantasy Filmball.